She stood in front of my gate, arms crossed and lips tight like she owned the ground under her shoes. "Your fence," she said, pointing like a queen giving orders, "is 3 feet over my property line. You'll need to move it by tomorrow." I looked at her. Karen, the self-appointed neighborhood president. Even though our street didn't even have an HOA, she loved throwing around rules that didn't exist. "This fence has been here since my father built it," I said calmly. "You're mistaken." She laughed. That sharp kind of laugh people use when they think they've already won. "Then you won't mind if I get a survey done. Don't blame me when you lose half your yard." The next morning I woke up to bright orange flags stabbed into my lawn, a notice of trespass taped to my door, and Karen talking loudly to 2 men in vests. "We're marking my property line," she told them. "He's been stealing land for years." I walked over, trying to stay calm. "Did you hire a licensed surveyor?" I asked. She smirked. "My cousin handles all city permits. Don't worry about it." Something felt off. The way those men avoided eye contact. The way Karen kept recording me on her phone, whispering, "He's getting aggressive." I didn't take the bait. "Fine," I said. "Let's get a real surveyor involved. I'll call the county." That wiped the smile off her face for a second, but she recovered quickly. "Go ahead," she said, turning toward her car. "You'll be embarrassed when you find out this land was never yours." What she didn't know was that my father had kept every original document, the deeds, blueprints, and old survey reports. I still had them locked in a metal box in my garage. When I opened that box that night, the smell of old paper hit me, and I realized something. Karen had picked the wrong man to mess with because my dad wasn't just a homeowner. He had been the county's chief land surveyor. Every inch of this property was legally, undeniably ours. 2 days later, Karen was back, clipboard in hand, 2 men in suits behind her, and that same smug smile that made my blood boil. She stood on the sidewalk like she was about to evict me from my own life. "I filed a complaint," she announced loud enough for the whole neighborhood to hear. "The county will send notice soon. You'll need to take that fence down before it becomes a legal matter." I leaned on the gate, pretending to stay calm. "You mean after they verify your claim?" She laughed again, sharp and fake. "Oh, honey, I already have proof." She waved a paper in my face, full of highlighted lines and signatures. It looked official, except one thing caught my eye. The signature at the bottom wasn't from the county office. It was her cousin's. I didn't say anything, just smiled and said, "All right, Karen, let's see who's lying." That night, I called someone I hadn't spoken to in years. My father's old apprentice, Mark. He was now a licensed surveyor, one of the best in the state. When I told him what happened, he chuckled. "You're saying she filed a property complaint using her cousin's fake signature? Oh, this will be fun." By the weekend, Mark arrived with his truck, equipment, and a drone camera. Of course, Karen couldn't help herself. The moment she saw him unloading the gear, she stormed out of her house. "You can't do that here," she shouted. "I already have an official survey." Mark smiled without even looking at her. "Ma'am, I'm licensed by the state. If your report is real, then you have nothing to worry about." For the first time, Karen went quiet. Her face twitched as she tried calling someone, probably her cousin, but no one picked up. As the drone buzzed above us, scanning the property, Mark leaned toward me and whispered, "She's done. Her map doesn't match the county records at all." A wave of satisfaction spread through me. For weeks, she'd humiliated me, spreading lies about how I was stealing land, but the truth was seconds away from coming out. Karen stood there, arms folded, pretending she wasn't nervous. "You'll see," she said. "I'm never wrong." But when Mark looked at his screen, his eyes widened slightly. "Oh, you're definitely wrong," he said loudly enough for her to hear. Karen's face drained of color as Mark printed the results. The drone data, official coordinates, and county records all showed the same thing. My fence wasn't crossing her property. It was actually her flower bed that extended 2 feet into mine. Mark handed her the report, polite but firm. "According to county mapping, his fence is perfectly placed. If anything, you've been encroaching on his land for years." Karen's lips trembled. She snatched the paper, skimmed it quickly, and barked, "This is wrong." "I don't care what your computer says. My cousin handles these cases. He said this land belongs to me." Mark smiled patiently, like a man used to dealing with people who think Google Maps is the law. "Then your cousin might want to check his certification number, because this report is already on its way to the county office." Karen froze. Then, like flipping a switch, she turned her anger on me. You set this up. You're working with him. This is harassment. I stepped closer, calm but firm. Karen, I didn't set you up. You tried to steal land that's been in my family for 40 years. You used fake papers. You lied to the county. That's not a misunderstanding, that's fraud. Her voice dropped. You wouldn't tell anyone, right? I didn't answer. I didn't have to. Mark's radio crackled. He'd already sent a digital copy to the county office. The truth was officially recorded. Karen's shoulders slumped for a moment, then she straightened and hissed, You'll regret this. You don't know who you're messing with. She stormed back to her house, nearly tripping over one of her own garden stones. That night I caught her sneaking around with a flashlight, taking photos of my fence like she was building a case. But what she didn't realize was that my security cameras caught everything. Every fake inspection, every trespass, every word she said. By morning, I had it all saved on a flash drive. For the first time in weeks, I smiled, because this wasn't just about defense anymore. It was about exposing who Karen really was. The next morning, county officers pulled up in front of her house. She came out in her robe, pretending to smile like everything was fine, until she saw them holding a file with her fake survey. Ma'am, one officer said, this document was submitted with a forged signature and a false permit number. We'll need you to come with us for questioning, she stammered. It's a mistake. My cousin handled it. The officer nodded. He's already under investigation, too. Neighbors peeked through their windows as Karen was led to the patrol car, still shouting about her land. I stood by my fence quietly, holding the flash drive that had every bit of proof. Mark gave me a small grin. Looks like your dad's work just protected you one last time. Later that week, the county sent me an apology letter confirming that the land and fence were legally mine. They even fined Karen for property fraud and trespassing. That evening, as the sun hit the fence just right, I could almost hear my father's voice. Truth doesn't need to shout, and it just stands firm. A month later, Karen's house went up for sale. Nobody wanted to buy it.